your body is going to very quickly tell you that you should move. And you don't know that you're not moving. I'm relaxing. I don't have to be anywhere. I'm cool. Everything's. But every day that you sit still, your central nervous system goes, we don't have to be on guard. We don't have to stretch. We don't have to make sure the ligaments work. And then one day you have to do something quickly, and you go, well, that shouldn't have hurt at all. Why's my back?
Yeah, I get you on the stretching in particular. When I was a kid, we were playing basketball in middle school. It was stretching is gay or whatever.
What's wrong with y'all? Hey, Grandpa, come on, man. Stop touching your toes. You look weird. Now you go out there and try to do something. Yeah.
Did you grow up in Chicago? Where are you from?
From the East Coast. I grew up between Harlem and Virginia. So my mom sent me to Virginia to live with my dad when my junior year in high school.
It was like Boys in the Hood, like teach you how to be a man type of thing?
No, like she was tired of my shit type of thing. Like it would have been, except my dad was the opposite of Furious Styles. He was more easy. He was more like Ezel from Friday. So she sent me to live with a crackhead. It's not her fault.
Did she not know that he?
No, she knew.
Okay.
I think that era wasn't prepared for kids who challenged authority in the way that we are now. Like when we see that, we're like, oh, he's displaying a need, an unmet need. Back then it was, what the hell is wrong with this boy? This puberty hit and he lost his damn mind. So it was you need a man. So she sent me to the only man that she could legally force to take me. I wish that was a joke. It's funny saying it out loud. But yeah, he wasn't ready. Like he had gone 16 years without raising a kid, and then all of a sudden there's a kid there, and he's trying to do his best impression of a dad. And that's what it is, because he's been a kid, and he has kids, but he's never been a dad.
Right.
And I'm challenging
just questioning things.
Everything.
Was questioning out of being an asshole or curiosity, some sort of mixture of both?
I think it was a pushback against things that didn't make sense. I'm a dad now myself, and so the idea of me telling my son something and him doing it simply because I said so, I get where that comes from, but that's ridiculous on his face. Like if you say that to cats, dogs. If you put cats, dogs, and kids in the same category, well, then when do the kids become people? Right? And so when they're 18, these kids don't know how to do anything. Yeah, because we've treated them like children, like they can't have their own thoughts. They can't question anything. If something's not clear, they better shut the hell up and do whatever you told them to do anyway. So that never made sense to me. Even young, I remember getting in trouble for something and saying to my mom, how come when I get in trouble or I do something that you don't like, I get hit? But when you do things that are clearly wrong, nothing happens to you. And at the time, I was like, the hell, why can't you shut the hell up, man? She's going to hit you now. And she did. It was basically like, don't question me. I'm the mom. I do what I want.
70s?
This is 70s and 80s. I was born in 72. So I'm between the ages of 7 and 12 at this point. I can't pinpoint the date, but I remember it didn't make sense to me that you're hitting me because the only way that I'm going to learn that there are consequences for my actions is if you give me these consequences. But I would think that you could also just show me the consequences for the things that you do that aren't right. You know what I mean? And so I would ask those questions, and I wouldn't always get hit, but I would always get treated like it was a ridiculous question and how dare I. And so then I go to stay with my dad, and I have less respect for him than I do my mom. She tried to raise me. I didn't even see him for 6 or 7 years. So he's like, go to your room, and I'm like, my guy, come on, fam. Like, no, stop.
You bigger than him by this point?
We're probably the same size. My dad, he's smoking, so he's not super huge anyway. And I've always been like super skinny. All of this weight is new weight. This is old man weight.
Okay.
But yeah, I was probably 125 pounds in high school. My dad might have been 140. So he's out of my weight class, but
you spry.
I got the quickness. So yeah, it's not And I'm playing sports. So I'm physically doing stuff and he's not.
Right. He's not stretching.
He's not stretching. You know, it's wild too to think about the age he was, because my parents had me when they were 19. So when I'm 16, my dad's 35.
That's not old.
That's not old. Right? But he's ancient in my head. I'm like, knock this old thing out, you know? Yeah, it's wild to look back at it, because my son is exactly the same way. At whatever I tell him, he's got a question.
And you feel like, and so now that he has all these questions, how do you?
I answer them.
You answer like real answers.
Yeah, real, because even if the answer doesn't make sense yet, you start putting the picture together, right? Like if I give you two puzzle pieces and you put the two puzzle pieces together, you still don't know what the big picture is, but you got those two pieces. And then you get two more and two more and two more. And at some point, it starts to become clearer. You still might not have the whole picture, but you have a better idea of what it looks like.
Has he ever stumped you? Has he ever asked you like some questions and you didn't have an answer for him?
He has never stumped me with a question, but he has stumped me with responses to questions I've asked him.
Can I get an example?
Yeah, literally last night, yesterday during the day, we were having an argument. And I call them arguments because I have a position, he has a position, and we're both defending our positions. Now, granted, at any point, I'm physically bigger, I'm likely more intelligent, whatever. But I could stop this conversation anytime I want to. I could physically move him if I wanted to. That seems like a coward's move to me, though, as a father. As a father, I'm saying to you, I can't explain to you why I need you to do this, so I'm just going to make you. And so we go back and forth a lot longer than I would like to most of the time, because I'm like, dog, I feel like I made this point clear. You're not going to win this one. You know what I mean? You can't not take a bath. Go take a bath, my guy. Like, you know what I mean? You can't not brush your teeth. Go brush your teeth. And he's like, well, I don't really like I don't care that you don't like that, but I can't answer that.
Yeah.
I have to, wait a minute. There might be an actual problem. You don't like the way the toothbrush feels, or you don't like the bristles on this one, or you don't like the way this toothpaste tastes, or you don't like... Okay, well, that's not preventing you from brushing, because you still need to brush. But what kind of bullshit is that if I tell him, well, you still got to brush with it anyway? Would you?
Yeah.
If you bought some toothpaste that was nasty in your mouth, you wouldn't be like, well, I bought it, I guess I got to brush all the way through. No, you would go get some more fucking toothpaste, right?
Right.
And so what happened, I'd asked him in the middle of the day, I was like, yo, you know what the end of this is going to be. At some point, if you keep asking the same question and I've answered it in a sufficient way, we're going to stop talking and we're going to start talking about, limits on iPads. So why do you keep going? And last night at bedtime, this is hours after we had this conversation.
How old was your son? 7. Okay.
Hours after that conversation, he says, Daddy, sometimes when we arguing, I'm not trying to win the argument. I just know that even after we get upset and we take a minute to talk, if we take a break, we'll come back together and eventually we'll figure it out. So when I'm asking questions, I'm just trying to figure it out. So what he said to me, and what I heard in the moment, is instead of me hearing an excuse, what I heard was, hey, man, sometimes you're right and I just haven't figured it out. I don't understand why you're right yet. So I keep asking questions until I understand it. It's not a matter of me not wanting to do what you want me to do. It's not about me trying to win the art. It's literally me not yet understanding because I'm 7. And you think it makes sense because you're 100, and it does make sense to but it doesn't make sense to me yet. I don't have all of the pieces. I don't have all of the puzzle pieces. So I still have to give them to him, but I have to give him grace for not seeing the big picture.
It sounds like, if I were to put it in my own words, you're raising a man.
I'm trying my best to raise a person who sees himself as a whole person and not as my son or somebody's brother or somebody. Like, how do you see the world? Not how did I teach you? One of my least favorite things is for people to say, yo, I wasn't raised da-da-da-da way. So, motherfucker, like, you could be raised a whole bunch of ways and make that shit relevant to me. I wasn't raised to ride the train. Bitch, I wasn't raised to drive a car. So what am I supposed to drive now because you weren't raised to That's crazy to me. So I want him to kind of figure out what makes sense for him. That's a tougher thing, I think, for some parents, because we don't like to lose control of our kids. What I just said sounds like I have no control over them. I'm fine with people feeling that way, but the reality is, he's on a routine. He gets, he's as smart as any other 7-year-old. He can read, write, do math.
He has a bedtime.
He's got a bedtime. We play family game night every night. We play Uno or some kind of quick game that we could play. We watch movies together. We have a relationship where he can ask me any question he wants to. So control is about my ego. Parenting can't be about my ego. It can't be I'm worried about how people are going to see my son. That's about me. That's not him. That's me worrying about whether or not people will think I'm a good parent, and not worrying about, am I doing the best thing for his development?
That mentality, is that something that you figured out after he was born, or is that pre? Like, were you processing this before he was born?
So I have a 19-year-old daughter.
Okay.
And she and I have talked about this, how there was a lot of experimentation trying to figure out what made the most sense to raise. I've never parented, and I knew that the way that I was parented couldn't be how I did it. I still hadn't come to that part where, some guys get older and they're like, yeah, I didn't understand it at the time, but now that I have my own kids, I understand it. Maybe that's true. Or maybe you got your own kids and you got in these situations and you had no other tools in your arsenal except the ones that were used on you. So it's not that you understand it, you just have no other option. For me, because I questioned so much and because I had so little respect for my dad at the time, and it cost me, my relationship changed significantly with both parents. But because of that, I've always been trying to figure out what's my way. What's Naruto said, that's my Nendo, that's my ninja way. That's my ninja way. I'm trying to figure it out in a way that makes sense. And there's a way, I think, to honor our ancestors and our past and our traditions without holding them as gods and saying that there's no deviation or no way to challenge them. We have to challenge them if we're moving forward.
Now, this mentality of questioning things feels very indicative of a stand-up comedian.
Right.
Now, at what point did you think to yourself, I want to perform, I want to get on stage?
I never thought that. This is the stupidest accident of all time, man. I'm so grateful for this accident. No, I have a sincere aversion to people finding me silly.
Okay.
And so that prevents me from thinking about stand-up, or I don't like, I'm getting there now, but I don't always like the way it feels when people are laughing at me. So what ended up actually happening was I had a court case and I thought I was going back to prison, and I was just roasting people just out of the animosity, the trauma from, I was roasting my friends mostly, but I was keeping the circle close, but they said, you got funnier. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know, man. You just like going to prison made you funny. I was like, oh, in that case, you should be da-da-da-da-da. I'm just killing them. And one of them goes, yo, you should try stand. I was like, that sounds stupid. The fuck is wrong with you? I like to shoot people, bro. Like, what I'm going to do if somebody, if they boo me, then what? Yeah. Y'all going to get me out of prison? So he was like, nah, come on, man. Sign up for this open mic.
How old were you at this point?
I'm 38. 22. No. 30. Yes, I'm 38 years old.
You started stand-up at 38
years old.
Okay.
At 38 years old.
Still hope for me then, I guess.
You got a launching pad. You got a head start. By the time I was your age, I was still not in it yet. No, but it was wild because he did an open mic and I watched and I was like, I don't know. And then he convinced me the next week to come back. And yeah, the first time I did this, and the amplifier, like I've done speeches before. I know what my voice sounds like, but this isn't that. I have to get a specific reaction. This is a challenge. Whereas giving a speech, I just have to make sure that the information is correct and I don't mess my words up. Stand-up has a requirement for it to actually be stand-up. The people have to laugh. And so if I go up and I say the words that I think are funny and people don't laugh, I gotta go back to the lab. I like this. This is fun. This is the challenge of getting people to laugh was the thing for me. Not, I had no concept of what the industry was or what a career in comedy looked like. the challenge of getting these people to laugh and figuring out what made people laugh and why they laughed and what I wanted to be as a person who made people laugh, because I'd already realized there's a bunch of different ways. You know, I could fall down like Jerry Lewis. You know, I could hump the stool. I could dance a little bit. You know what I mean? I could do impressions. I could do, you know, observation. Like, I'm like, there's so many different ways. Who am I in that vein? Am I a combination of these things? So I don't know that I've figured that out yet. I don't know that I think that you can settle on an answer and you can pursue your career as if that's the answer. But because of just the nature of type of person that I am, I'm going to keep challenging it, right? Like I thought at various points in my career that I was a particular type of comic. And then someone would say, yeah, you're a really good storytelling comic. And I was like, the fuck, I don't tell stories. I'm a boo. And they were like, this is a story, this is a story, this is a story. And I'm like, they all are stories, but they have a point. Sure, okay, whatever. But they're still stories. And so, you know, there's also that, how do I see myself versus how do people see me? Do I care? You don't get to not care about how the audience sees you if you're a comic. They have to see you as funny, minimum. Now, whether or not they like you, irrelevant, but they have to see you as funny. And so this is like the first time. I'm very arrogant in that I don't really care how most people see me.
As long as they see you as funny when you're on stage?
Even outside of that, like it's been work for me to care in a way that doesn't make me just dismiss people for not getting my joke. Like I'm that kind of arrogant. Like you didn't laugh. It's not because I'm not funny. You just whack. That's not me. So it took work for me to go, yeah, but if you're funny, you can make people who don't like you laugh. If you're funny, you can make people who don't like certain conversations laugh. If you're funny. If you're not funny, then you have to find people that think you're funny.
Do the thing. So, starting at, was it 38, you said?
Yeah.
Starting at 38 is goddamn crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's the fucking bad shit, man.
And it sounds like, I'm going to put it in my own words, what we have so far here.
Cool.
So you're a kid, you're growing up with your mom on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a bad kid, but you're a curious kid who's probably opened his mouth more than the 80s and 70s would allow.
Yeah.
Still going, you can't stop this desire to ask questions.
No, I got to challenge you.
Challenging things, and at some point your mom gets fed up and says, go live with your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad is not very good at being a dad, and that's around 16.
Yep.
And you're living with him. Now, what starts taking you down this path? Because you've already brought up prison. So
Yeah.
what takes you down that path at 16 with your dad?
I think knowing that I didn't want to live with them, with either of them, for the rest of my life, but also like there was a rush to adulthood for me. I remember being a kid, but I don't remember having a childhood. If that, you know what I mean? I remember the ages that I was a child, but the childhood memories that most people have, I don't remember any of that. And I don't know if it's just like trauma blocking it out or those weren't the milestones for me. You know what I mean? The milestones for me, like I remember my first kiss. You know what I mean? I remember the first time I had sex. But like that group of friends that you used to sit with and talk after, I'm sure I was in one of those circles, but I don't remember that. You feel me? That's what I'm saying. I don't remember that, son.
Yeah, that's how my podcast usually goes on the street. Yeah, we get a lot of ambulances too, so get ready for that.
They seen me. They knew. They was like, yo, Munk up there spitting that fire. But yeah.
So childhood in the traditional sense isn't something that you connected with.
No. So giving good context for this, because the 70s is the time when women are just starting to actually see the rights that have been codified in the 50s and 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you know, women couldn't have credit cards in a lot of places until the 50s, 60s, or 70s. As late as the 70s, in some places, you could not open a bank account as a woman unless you had your dad or your husband co-sign. You couldn't own property. You couldn't sign deeds. like in the United States of the Americas.
That's crazy.
Right, because you can't fathom that now, right? Like the
Yeah.
inequality now seems more
Social.
and ideological than it does systemic. But the problem with that is the systems are still run by people with these ideologies. Now going back to the 70s, my mom is a single black mom during an era where women of any ilk have very little power. Black women have even less power, and unmarried black women have no. So you're an unmarried black mother. So she's doing whatever she can to, keep us afloat financially. And again, giving context to my mom, if you go to work full time in a male dominated society and then you come home and you ask me to do a thing and I haven't done the thing, you don't have the patience that I have. I'm 51. Of course, I got different patience with my 7-year-old. I also have a wife there who's, we're both involved fully in making sure this kid is okay. And if we're being honest, for the first 3.5, 4 years of his life, I was the backup parent and my wife was the primary parent. So that just switched during COVID, and it's relatively easy compared to how my mom had it. All of that said, her real big goal was to still have this version of the American dream that a lot of immigrant parents have. So her version of the American dream is...
Was she immigrant?
Yeah.
Where's she from?
Ethiopia.
Oh.
So her version of this dream is she gets married. The stepdad comes in, loves me. They raise me as a happy family. And if she can't get that, she'll settle for somebody who makes makes a good living and is willing to step in and take care of me. She finds a guy. I'm 6-7 years old, so I don't know him. I don't like his vibe, but I also don't know if I don't like his vibe just because I've had my mom to myself. Like, I'm trying to be as honest about it as possible. I'm like, fuck that man, he won't shit. He wasn't, but I also didn't know that at the time. I don't think I had some type of premonition. I just didn't like him.
Do you think your gut was telling you anything?
It might have been.
Okay.
It might have been. Again, I was 6, so I don't know. At that age, I wasn't allowed to trust my intuition. So, but I've told this story on stage before. There was a time where she was trying to get us to bond, so I hung out with him for the day, and I'm looking back at it now like, oh, I see what the fuck was going on. He was hanging with the kid to try to get to know me to see if we could, and my mom probably put him up to it. Cool. He takes me out. We go to hang out with some of his friends. They're smoking, and one of them says, "You want to hit this little dude?" And I'm like, boy, my mom would kill me. And he said, man, what your mom know won't kill her. And I look at my soon-to-be stepdad, and I'm like, what's up? And he was like, it's up to you. And so I'm 6. I smoke the fucking weed. That's, I cough, I almost die. They laugh. Ha, 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 ha. I don't think about it anymore because I asked an adult. And the adult was like, it's up to you. So, nigga, I'm thinking I'm covered. I go home and get my ass whipped because he told her that I didn't. She was like, you don't smoke it, da-da-da-da. And now I'm like, wait a minute. I thought if I went to an adult and the adult said I could do it, the fuck I'm in trouble for? So I don't even get to trust adults. There's no point in me asking adults anymore because you are the ultimate judge and jury. So I'm responsible for me. And so from that point on, I don't recall having a childhood because everything I thought of was thought of in the ways of how is this going to, kids get to ignore long-term consequences. That's part of the joy of being a kid, and that's why they're risk takers. They don't think about long-term consequences. And our job as a parent is to make sure that they can do that in the most safe environment possible so that even if they do some reckless shit and jump off the fucking balcony, you got a bed, a mattress down there to catch them. But you can't tell them the mattress is there. You got to save them and then go, hey, dummy, don't do that dumb shit again.
Now, this moment you had with your stepdad, would you say that might have been the catalyst to all of the questions, or do you nature versus nurture? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't say that wasn't the beginning. That actually makes sense. I'll talk to my therapist about it. And to be fair, I don't recall much before that point. That, I understand now what those types of, what do you call them? Cornerstone type moments. There's a phrase for that. during childhood. Core memories, right? I know what core memories are now, but back then I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that that story, that very specific story, has stuck with me for now 45 years. But I couldn't tell you what I did in the 8th grade. I couldn't tell you what happened you know what I mean? But that, I can remember almost word for word everything that happened. I remember they were smoking joints, and they were smoking them using a little plunger piece, the bowl that sits inside the toilet bowl that drops down, and when the water gets a certain way, it lets you know to flush.
Yeah.
That little, they
were
screwed
smoking
that
out of
off,
that?
and they would put the joint in that and then blow. They would squeeze it to give themselves shotguns. That's how they were smoking to get
An
higher.
apple. Jesus Christ.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, but that's the thing.
It's
Like,
a lot
I'm
of
remembering back, I'm like, y'all were weird. Y'all were not only getting high, but y'all were weird as shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, I remember being a kid and at that point just deciding, fuck whatever they telling me, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do, and I'm gonna try my best to get away with it. But I don't trust them as people with good fucking decision making skills.
Right.
So you can't. It's very hard to get that back once a kid doesn't trust you, because you're a liar. And now I know you're a liar, and you hitting me for finding out you lied. Like, you mad at me because you on bullshit. That's not on me. And that, that's probably unfair a bit to my mom. Again, I gave the context that, these are all of the pressures on her. That said, somebody can do their best and still fail you.
Yeah, I would say so.
That's, I think that for most parents, if they could acknowledge, I did my best, but I recognize it wasn't good.
No. And I doubt this would be the case based off of how you're describing the way you raise your kids, but let's say your son is 25 and he says, Dad, you did your best, but you failed me. How would that make you feel?
I would feel, I can't imagine much that would hurt more than that, because prior to my kids being born, I'd never had a thing that, I'd never had a ninja way. I'd never had a thing that mattered to me so much that I would make decisions based off of that. I didn't have well, you're in college, everything should be around. Yeah, whatever. I'm selling drugs too. I'm in college, I'm selling drugs. I'm trying to get some pussy. I'm playing basketball. I got a lot going on. We juggling a lot of balls. Then my daughter's born. I'm like, oh, I need to become a manager, and I need to get these. Everything changed, right? So now that I'm older, and have made some different decisions and different mistakes, my goal for them is no longer for me to give them everything I didn't have financially. I am trying to give them everything I didn't have emotionally. One of my favorite things is my son comes to me every day and says, "You're the best dad in the world." That's the first thing he says to me every morning when he wakes up. "You're the best dad in the world. I love you more than you could ever love me," every day. Now, it's more of a game now. I don't know how much he means it. It doesn't mean it at this point, but the fact that he's ever said it is amazing. He's brought it up a number of times. He's told people, and he will tell you reasons why. He won't just be like, "You're the best dad in the world," and give me a hug. He'll be like, "You're the best dad in the world because I get to do this. I get to say this." Some parents don't allow their kids to whoop, whoop, whoop. I've seen it. But you let me boop, 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 boop. You just make sure that I'm safe. And I'm like, okay, so you can tell there's a difference in the way that you're parented. That's so if my son at some point was like, "You failed me," it would hurt, and it would hurt in a way that I can't think of. Something like prison is a second chance, right? Like, unless you get a life sentence, you're coming home. Marriage, you could get remarried. You can't reparent your kids. So, it's a constant day to day. I check in with him a lot though. So if he said it at 25, I would be shocked. Yeah. Because nigga, I've been asking you. The fuck this come from?
Said something.
Yeah, nigga, you had the ball, son. You could have done whatever. All you had to do was say, "Yo, my nigga, stop making me salmon. I don't like it."
So, how old were you when you found out you were gonna have a daughter?
I was 32.
You're my age.
I was 31. I was 31. I turned 32 before she was born.
Okay.
And 31 felt so old at the time. You know what I mean?
I'm
like
32, so yes, I do.
It feels super duper old, and at the same time, she was born, and I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready partially because her mother and I weren't really in that space that we were planning preparing for a baby. We weren't really even in that relationship space where we were sure that we were in a relationship.
I know that game.
So, but then again, we're talking about context. My dad had ended up with 3 sons, and only one of them ever lived with him for a significant amount of time. No, I was there for 2 years, and that was enough. My baby brother got there just as I was getting there, a little bit after me, he was around the same time. And he stayed with my dad through graduation. So he was there for over a decade and has lived off and on with him since. And yeah, I just remembered her mom telling me that she was pregnant, and me going, I'm not going to be my dad.
Okay.
And so, I married her. That was the big mistake wasn't having the baby. The big mistake was marrying her mom, because I forced us to try to do something that we weren't supposed to do. We weren't supposed to be together. We could have raised the baby, right, but we weren't supposed to be together.
Do you think that came from that 70s, 80s? Like, if you have a kid, you have to.
Yeah, absolutely. We were still at that point where, socially, and we still have people who do this now. Socially, we'll have people see it. First it's marriage, then the baby. First it's marriage, then the baby. As if somehow being married makes the baby a better person or makes the couple more likely to stay together. And in fact, divorce rate's still high as fuck. So being married before you have a baby doesn't mean that the baby's not going to grow up in a fucking dysfunctional family. Mm-hmm. If I had known that then, if I had sense enough then to break away from society's idea of how I should handle it, I think my relationship with my daughter's mother would have improved, and my daughter and I would have had fewer ups and downs. We're on like a super hot up right now, but we had a lot of downtime because I wasn't there, and I couldn't counter the narrative that was being created about me.
You weren't there because?
I was in New York at one point, and she was in Virginia because I was working. Financially, just like the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years of her life, 6 years of her life, I was there day to day or at least multiple times a week. Like we had an agreement that every Thursday I would pick her up from school, and I would keep her until her mom came, or a certain time. It was till it was almost bedtime. Then I would take her home every other week. On the odd weeks that I didn't do that, I would pick her up on Thursday and then keep her through the weekend. So I would, I had her every other weekend, and then I had her once a week on the weeks that I didn't have her for the weekend.
Okay.
So I saw her every week, about, I think the number we ended up was like 12 out of the 30 days a month I had her. So it wasn't exactly joint, but it was joint enough. She saw me enough to know who I was. And then the car dealership I was working at, the money just got weird. We talk about the market crashes in 07, 08. The money changes. I go from making a really good living to I can't afford my car note. I can't afford and eventually I get into comedy again, still not making a lot of money, but that takes me to New York. She's still in Virginia at this point. And then that takes me to Chicago. She's still in Virginia at this point. And so for that, there's a run there from the time my daughter is 7 or 8 until maybe 2 years ago where she feels like I've abandoned her, and it doesn't matter how, what I'm saying to her, because that feeling trumps, that feeling affects how you process what you're hearing. So she feels abandoned. So if I start explaining why, that is an excuse. If I don't say anything, that's me not valuing what she said, and I don't know how to process it yet. So it took me years to figure out what I needed to say to her to get her to understand, hey, first of all, I didn't abandon you. Maybe your mama. I'll take that one, but not you ever, right?
Yeah.
And I also never said anything rude or disrespectful about her mom to her. So she, at some point she looks at me and goes, wait, this guy's really just trying to be my dad. Like, he's not doing extra stuff. He's not making excuses for why. He's just letting me come to him whenever I want to. He calls all the time just to check, even if I don't answer. He's doing what I want a dad to do, and I'm not giving him a chance.
That.
And once she did, man, our relationship flourished. She's one of my favorite people. If she's not my best friend, she's in my small circle of 3 or 4 best friends. But yeah, I mean, that's my buddy. And it changed that patience with her gave me patience with the boy. Because I realized, like, that's the long game, man. We're talking about 8-9 years where she kind of fuck with me. You know, you still my dad. I love you, but nigga. And then one day she came around and it hit me like, yo, I would wait another 20 years for her to come. It was worth it. So for him, it's the same thing. It's like, I could be patient. I'm not expecting him to learn a lesson in a day. He's not the age she was. He's just now about the age she was when she stopped fucking with me. And so if he didn't fuck with me for the next 7-8, I'm not gonna be an asshole to him. Fuck that nigga. I pay for this. Nigga got shoes. Look at his cheeks. Where you think he got them cheeks? This nigga, everybody talking about he cute. Nigga, that's me, nigga. Fuck out of here. Fake ass nigga. But no, I'm really, the three of them really my best friends, dog. It's crazy. It's like having a friend group and everybody gets all of the same inside jokes, but everybody has a different relationship with each other. But we all still, like when my daughter's in town, there's no room. I need a bigger bed. Like everybody's in my bed. We watching TV. We playing Uno. We're eating pizzas. Like it's just, and there's a 12-year age difference between her and my son. So there's no reason for them to actually connect. Man, every day that boy wakes up. When is Sissy coming home? Sissy should move back here. I want Sissy here. I love my Sissy. Daddy, FaceTime Sissy. She's away at college, my guy. Like, he doesn't care. He wants to talk to his sister. Yeah. Same thing. She'll call. What's the boy doing? Go get the boy. Tell him I'm here. They share a room when she's here. Like, that's her man's.
So all of this dad chill energy you got, I don't get the I don't get the sense that this was you through a good portion of your life.
It's still not me.
Is this all a lie? Is this a ruse?
Yeah. No, I'm hyper focused on my family because that keeps me from slapping the shit out of people.
Okay. Let's dig into that anger real quick.
Let's discuss that. I mean, you've seen all of this shit. You've seen the earth. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
But then, you know, again, unprocessed childhood trauma. We're not allowed to go to therapists. There's a fear of telling people your truth and how you're going to be, you know, judged, and all of that comes from this like super puritanical 70s 80s upbringing. And black men can't be weak. Black men can't show, you know, you weak. You must be weak mentally if you need to talk to a therapist. Yeah, but you beat your wife. So I think I would rather you call me, you know what I mean? Like,
the trade-off is fair.
The trade-off is fair. My wife got both our orbital bones in good shape, and we still love each other. Your wife's fucking terrified, shivering in the corner, my nigga. I'm pussy, though, okay? Yeah. You know, like, so, yeah, at some point, I realized I was angry, and the amount of anger that I had, while it may have been justified, wasn't healthy. And I want to say that again. I think people get angry and they're like, this isn't good for me. I'm too angry. No, you're the right amount of angry, because this shit is fucked up. Like from Sudan to the Congo to, you know, Palestine to Lebanon to Libya to Ukraine to wherever, all of this shit is fucked up. A man set himself on fire and they're debating whether or not we can say rest in power, not, hey man, a nigga set himself on fire. With all due respect to anybody saying anything, it doesn't fucking matter. Why are we not acknowledging that somebody said this shit is so fucked up? I would rather die in the most painful possible way than to participate in it for another minute. All of that's happening. So I get the choice to ignore it, or if you pay attention, you're angry. If you pay attention to women's rights being eroded, they're literally trying to overturn gay marriage. Money is being sent to fund multiple wars, and if you say something about it, you hate democracy because my only two choices are a nigga who's funding genocide and Donald Trump. And whenever you say it that way, something sounds crazy. Like, I could keep voting for a nigga who's okay with 12, 15,000 children being murdered for democracy, or I could vote for a nigga who thinks black people like him because he made gold shoes. Like, my nigga, none of these options are good. Yeah. None of these options are good. And when people say, oh, you made bad decisions, did you ever ask, what were the choices? Did he make a bad decision, or he just had two fucking badass choices? So, yeah, the anger comes naturally. The anger comes honestly, and it's been that way since I was young. I was the kid reading, you know, Malcolm X books and middle school. I think the first time I read a science fiction book, it pissed me off. Do you know how crazy that is? Like I get to imagine. No, I'm pissed off because instead of us using our tools to create this world, we're fucking bombing niggas who make delicious sandwiches. You know what I mean? With all due respect, that's not all they make, but sure. Stop bombing the niggas who make good food, bro. You know what I mean? This is stupid. So yeah, I've been mad since I've been mad a long time, my nigga.
Over the sandwiches?
Off the sandwiches, B.
Okay. No.
Niggas make good sushi. The fuck you doing, B? You ain't never had pad thai? The fuck you doing? I'm really upset. This is dumb. Why y'all hate China? Motherfuckers got delicious foods. Y'all always fucking with niggas with real good cuisine. That's crazy.
So Rachel Hall, you know Rachel, obviously.
The hilarious Rachel Hall. I like Rachel. Rachel's gonna be a good one.
Why do you say that? Because I agree, but
she's honest. Yeah. She's honest, and as everybody's funny. And I say everybody because I sincerely believe that everybody who gets on that stage and says something into the mic has a funny. They've said something funny to somebody. There's a funny, but they're not always honest, and they're not always saying anything that I give a fuck about. The guy, I can't think of his fucking name. He's on that show, the Philadelphia show with Danny DeVito. Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Rob McElhaney.
Yeah.
Does he play?
He plays Mac.
Mac. He's the one that got chubby and then got small and got. Okay, so yes, Rob McElhaney did the Wrexham documentary.
Yeah.
And during his speech, they won an award. During the speech, he goes, "There was a woman in the town, and we wanted to talk to her, and we were trying to get the waiver signed and everything." And she goes, "Why?" And he goes, "Why what? Why are you doing this? Would anybody want to hear my story?" And he says, "I believe that everybody has a story to tell, and that someone will be interested, but you have to tell your story well." And I think what Rachel does is she attempts to tell her story, and the more she does it, the easier it'll be. The more she'll find the spots in it that are really funny. But I think she's different. I think that what she does comedically is interesting, and that's harder to be than funny.
I agree with everything you said. I spent a good deal of time with Rachel, and she was excited for me to do this. I was excited too, but she was really excited for me to do this. And the more I'm listening to you, the more I think I understand why. I do. So make this about me a little bit. I do see myself in the way you speak and the way you've described how you were raised.
I've seen you do stand up, and that tracks.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a a fake toughness that you put on top of the vulnerability, so that you feel comfortable being vulnerable, but the bravery is already there. You're still saying it. You're still saying the shit, man. And
there's a fake toughness I do?
No, I'm talking about me.
Okay.
And so when I watch you, that's perfectly the way you framed it too. It's perfectly the way you framed it, because when I watch you, I don't see the need for the fake toughness. You're okay. Now maybe it's because you 6 foot 112,000 inches. When I always say I'm giving it context, because I have to remind myself. People like to do this thing. Well, I did it. Why can't you do it? Because I'm not 7 foot, Wimby. Like, no, I can't dunk from the fucking dotted line without reaching up. No, I can't do that. I've got to actually bounce, and I'm not bouncy anymore. So no, I can't do it. It's being honest, right? But also, yeah, it's still hard for me. Like I told you, I didn't want to do stand-up in the first place because I don't want people laughing at me. And so to talk about, there's no such thing as self-deprecation in my act. I don't have it. My self-deprecation comes, the closest I'll come to it is I'll say, y'all might not agree with this, but fuck you. You can't beat my ass. That's self-deprecation, because I'm acknowledging. That's the close, because I'm acknowledging that I'm about to say something that people don't find popular.
Okay.
That's the closest you're gonna get to me accepting that I'm flawed.
What?
Because motherfucker, how dare you? Let's first of all.
What is it about being perceived? It's and silly. You said silly is the word.
Yeah.
And that's not a buzzword.
I'm super silly though. Yeah. That's the thing is.
Glasses and everything.
Listen, everything I do it big. No, everything I do is silly, but you don't get to say it.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know if it was something my mom said when I was young and it stuck, or the guys, everybody that I was around was cool and you didn't want to not be. I can't remember. I don't know when the turn happened, but I remember, the sit your ass down. Stop all that goddamn moving around. Stop it. A lot of this is triggering watching my son grow up because I'm seeing the person I was and I'm not correcting it. Right, because I don't think it's wrong. See, I think you correct things when you think they're wrong, but I don't see him running around and bouncing at 7 years old wrong. He's fucking 7.
Right.
He's a Energizer bunny. He's supposed to do that. Now I can take him outside, or because it's 0 degrees, I gotta buy a bunch of bouncy, cushiony shit for the house and let this nigga run into the walls. Or the third option, of course, is to tell him to sit down.
Yeah, put an iPad in front of his face,
and that doesn't. For me, that just doesn't. But I know that that's how I became this. Being told to stop, you're being silly, you don't know when to joke, you play too much, you joke. So then I don't play. And you also can't be like a full-time comedian and sell coke. You got to pick. Because it's like, yo, son, you got jokes. Where my work? Where my money? I'm like, yeah, but did you hear the one about, boy, if you'll get your ass.
You've talked a lot. I've seen you talk on stage a fair amount about this type of stuff too. And I'd love your perspective on it. What it means to be a black man now.
Yeah.
Because for context of why I'm asking this, a big part of me moving to Chicago was a search of community. Yep. Search of myself and myself as a black man in particular.
Where'd you come from?
Southern California, Riverside, the desert.
Yeah, I know the Riverside. Yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah. Everyone thinks L.A. when I say California.
No. Yeah, that's definitely outside of
LA.
LA.
That's not L.A. And I grew up around a lot of conservative white people, cops and shit. It was awful. It was really awful.
It's terrible. It's like, oh my God. It's like DEA everywhere. Oh my God. Like, I like to get high and it's illegal, but still, like, they're like DEA. Like,
it really harshes your vibe, man.
That's my favorite sentence.
It harshes your mellow, bro.
It really harshes my mellow, bro. Like, yeah, like, that makes so much fucking sense. That you're like, you made shit as rough as you could for yourself. You like, where I think there'll be community? That place where I look on TV and they be like, niggas is getting murdered. I could find my tribe out there.
I got to tell you about this. So
I could find my tribe out there with it. On phone them, I could find my tribe. I wonder if I could pledge GD. You can't pledge, nigga. Oh my God, that's good.
Well, I'm out there and I'm being told what I am.
Yeah.
This is what a black person is.
Right.
This is what a man. This is what a
yeah.
And so, as in retrospect, as silly as it was, on some level, it was. I'm gonna go to the South Side and be embraced
and be a nigga. I want to go somewhere where the niggas will see me and they'll be like, "It's more niggas."
And then I went around and I was like, "Oh, I don't like this either."
Oh, I am not this particular type of nigger. I did not know. No, because I'd only seen the one type. I didn't know that we were.
I didn't know this light skin, dark skin shit.
Oh, that's
wasn't a thing for where I'm from.
You're black. No, that's a thing. And then you are, is your mom white? You got to deal with the.
But I came out here,
but you still can find that community here, which is what's cool about Chicago.
And I found it. I found it in Rachel Hall and Ty Riggs. And other people.
This is. If I had this group of people, there's a whole generation of them. If I had come up during an era with you and Rachel and or Skylar and like there's this group of black people who challenged the few boxes we got to be in. You could be not a young Republican, but on the borderline. You wearing the sweater vest and shit, nigga. You know what I mean? You dress like Boys the Men, but you can't sing. You a conservative, or you could be a hood nigga. You play ball, you rap, you sell drugs, you wear certain clothes. There's identifiers, or you could be a nerd, and the nerds didn't have community. The nerds they accepted the script like those, but that was it. Those were your boxes. Nobody apparently was gay. There were no gay people. There's no gay niggas ever. There were no artistic niggas because we didn't see rap as art. in that way. And if you were the dude who spray painted and tagged stuff and actually painted, gay. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have. You got to be one of these three, or you were weird. And even these two were weird. And some of that still lingers. There are a lot of people who sincerely believe, for example, that black women prefer to date hood niggas. That comes from that time period where your only three type of niggas was this Clarence Thomas ass nigga. You know what I mean? This musty anime nigga. And I'm not saying anime niggas are musty, but back then, anime niggas was musty. Like you
conventions.
Yeah, man. There's a sourness to them as a group. And I'm saying to them, even though I've watched whatever. Or you could be this guy. Now, there's a lot more space in the hood nigga genre of nigga, and that's what we're starting to see now. We're starting to see, yeah, I grew up around niggas, but I don't want to sell coke. I don't shoot people. I don't rap. I don't want to be in your gang. Y'all niggas just gonna have to be mad every day, but I'm not going joining your gang. I'm gonna jump you. Well, I still gonna get jumped, right? If I join your gang, I'm still gonna have to fight. Right. But I'm also possibly gonna die because I'm in your fucking gang. I'm not joining your gang. Like the idea that this group of people, this generation and the generation following, are cowards is so counter to the reality. Because the reality is your generation and the generation right behind you have challenged every fucking thing that you have been told about the way the world works. That's the most courageous shit I've ever seen. That's bravery in a way that my generation isn't ready to give you credit for yet, but it's the reality. There's not more gay people. There are more kids brave enough to be gay. There's not more this. There's more this willing to be out loud with it. They're not more art, but the arts have improved because of it. We weren't going to get a Kanye West, the old Kanye, not whoever this is. But we weren't going to get a Kanye West with orchestras and da-da-da if we don't get the roots, right? But we don't get the roots if we don't get DJ Premier and you know what I mean? Because these niggas is mixing jazz samples. And so as the jazz samples happen and the backpack niggas happen, and the backpack niggas ain't all gangster. Some of these backpack niggas is just backpack niggas. You know what I mean? They wear weird hats and Clarks and they just backpack niggas. So that all brings us to this group. Then we're not bridging that gap. We're not admitting that DJ Premier there's a thread from us taking rap music from boom bap to something creative in this way, and it leads directly to, you know, gay niggas talking about getting pegged on stage. Like that's a thing that happens. Yeah. And Premier should get a shout out for that. Like, shout out to Premier for this pegging joke. I'm very upset that I tied that together that way.
I'm gonna clip it. That's going on the TikTok and everything.
God damn
go viral.
God damn.
Premier's gonna message you.
DJ Premier said, DJ Premier, the reason niggas getting pegged. Ah! That's wild. That's wild. No, but I do think that I think that your generation does not get credit for the fearlessness, the challenging of the you know, I'm not doing comedy at 38 if I haven't seen young people saying, fuck it, I'm a live different. That inspired me. Like, yo, I don't have to do this shit. I could do whatever the fuck I want. People could be mad. Niggas just be mad sometimes.
Where do you think you'd be if you weren't doing stand-up?
I'd be dead. I know that sounds extreme, but I would absolutely be. I would have sold more cocaine. I'm always, you know, we talked about that. We talked about the anger. The anger doesn't go away. I learned how to handle it better. You know, of all of the superheroes that I could ever, you know, I'm Captain, I'm Iron Man, I'm the Hulk. I'm always fucking angry. And I'm probably now closer to Perfect Hulk than I ever was, where I can put the glasses on and I can, when I Hulk out, I'm still the size, I have the strength, but I can still read. Yeah. I'm getting closer to that, but the anger's not going anywhere. I accepted that a couple years ago. I tried Wellbutrin and it worked. But I missed the anger. Do you know what I mean? Like, I missed the fuel that the anger was for me.
So that fuel, I resonate with what you say there. The fuel, there's
without it, I'm not motivated to do the fuck I'm doing. My wife loves me. Yeah. My kids love me. I have nothing to prove to them. I could fucking drive Uber for the rest of my life, and as long as we didn't fucking get foreclosed or some shit, they wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
They don't need me to be famous or rich, or they just want me to be happy, because if I'm happy, I'm making them happy. I cook, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, me and the boy hang out, everybody's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to, but I don't know how to function without that anger, because I haven't ever lived without it. I don't remember living without it.
The fact that you can be happy and still do comedy is something that is a misunderstanding about comedy.
Yes.
Yes. You want to elaborate? It feels like you have more to say. I'm listening.
When I met my wife, I took 8 months off comedy because I was happy. I hadn't been that kind of happy and done comedy at the same time. And so much of my comedy was fueled by that anger. And so I kind of just laid around. Weekends were made for me and her catching up on, like, if I had watched the movie and she hadn't, and I was like, this is a great movie, we had to watch that movie together. She had a favorite TV show. We binged the whole series together. We were doing this thing where we were making my memories hers, or my memories ours, or her memories ours. And I don't think we knew that's what we were doing at the time. But as I was saying it out loud, I'm like, oh shit, her favorite thing was this, and she wanted me to see it. Mine was this, and I made sure she saw it. So it wasn't just I'm getting to know you. I'm really immersing myself in your world, and vice versa. And comedy just didn't feel
necessary.
I didn't know how to approach it, because it was, like I said about Rachel, there's an authenticity to Rachel. My anger was authentic. I'm not angry now. So how do I walk on stage and tell these angry ass jokes when I don't really feel like that? I'm not angry.
So after that 8 months, what happened?
I got angry again. Shit,
I thought we were gonna get something sort of pivot into.
Nigga, I got pissed. No, no, I started to talk more about my relationship, and there's still humor in
love.
And love. There's humor in love for an old black dude who came up the way I came up, because you only had simps and suckers. That's who was in love. Some girl got your nose open. That's who was in love. So to go on stage and be like, yeah, I love my wife. Suck ass nigga. Which is fucking crazy to me that's even how we perceive that conversation. Like, you love your wife makes you a sucker. You loving the person that you sleep beside every night makes you a sucker. You loving the person that you're raising kids with, got your bills and shit, ingle mingle. That's a sucker move? Nah, I still gotta be. Shut the fuck up, my nigga. Like, that don't even. You sound dumb. Again, watching this generation actively love in a different way, like, and fuck marriage. Y'all like, I don't gotta marry somebody to love them, and maybe I love 3 niggas. Now what? We like, oh, so everybody poly? Dad, you got 6 side chicks, nigga. You poly, you just a coward. Like, that's a poly coward. You know what I mean? You're doing the same thing I'm doing. You just not telling mom.
Right.
So that's some sucker shit, right? So y'all like revamp the whole shit. Now y'all gonna have to. There's gonna be some changes, because y'all are gonna be like, we tried this. This did not work. This was a failed experiment. But so far, humanity has been a failed fucking experiment. This is dumb. This is Wendy's is talking about surge pricing, my nigga.
I saw that, yeah.
That doesn't even sound. Surge pricing is for Uber. It doesn't even make sense for Uber. Because if you're telling me, hey man, I know it's an emergency and you really need to get there because everybody needs to get there right now, so we're gonna make it cost you more. That's the last stage of capitalism, where I can charge you whatever you are capable and willing to pay. What? Nigga, it's Wendy's. Y'all got 4 nuggets, a good chicken sandwich. Burgers are square. That's weird. And your fries suck. I'm not gonna pay surge prices for a fucking Frosty. It's a $3.99, my nigga. Why is it $17? It's a Frosty. I'm gonna get the bubble guts anyway. I don't even dip my fries. That shit's weird. Fuck y'all mean, man. Surge price of Wendy's. I'm gonna beat Dave Thomas' ass, man.
When the anger comes out, I hear the New York accent. It's extra. I feel like you need to put the hat on when you get angry.
You know what I'm saying? Nah, man. Word ball, because these niggas, I got more John Blaze shit than them. You know what I mean?
A fucking accent. It's so intense. Like, can you tell that I was from California? Could you feel it? Do I have an accent?
Nah, you have a vibe, though.
Okay.
That when you said harsh my vibe, the phrasing wise, I was like, that's a LA, that's a Cali nigga. But there's a very much a laid back, like I lived in a coastal town and I surfed before. You know what I mean? There's a you think you're not wearing socks. You know what I mean? Like that's a very Cali vibe. Niggas in New York don't take their socks off. Cause cause man, niggas wear Timbs a lot. Like we ain't getting. If you're not gonna get a pedicure and you wear Timbs 6 months out the year, we not taking our socks off, my guy. Like there's some shit going on in there. You know what I mean? It looks like an all night party. Take your socks off. It's fucking snowing in that motherfucker. You like Tony Montana. It's not good. I didn't know you were. You know what? I think maybe I thought you were from a smaller town in the Midwest.
I can see that.
But California makes the people I've met not from LA, there's a different kind of California to them. Not to say that California is the LA is not real California, because I know somebody gonna hear that, because reading and comprehending spoken language is not something that your generation is strong at. It's not your fault. That's me being a dick. But that, you know, I do think that the way that LA presents and the way that the rest of the California towns present are two different Californias. Because LA, even if you're not part of the Hollywood machine, it's part of LA. You're walking around and Tom Cruise is in your neighborhood. Maybe there's a movie crew in your neighborhood. There are things that are regular to a person who lives in LA that aren't regular to a person who lives in Riverside. That aren't regular to a person who lives in Stockton. That aren't regular to a person that lives in Escondido or wherever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Escondido. I haven't thought about Escondido in a minute.
I used to have a girl out in Escondido. I've been around the world and I did. Because I remember flying into San Diego to get there because it's closer. Whatever.
Yeah.
Point is, that's a different California.
Yeah, nobody knows. The people out here don't.
Escondido is a completely different California than even like Reseda or somewhere, you know what I mean? Like the outskirts, all of the suburbs of, like you could live in Burbank. I used to hear Burbank and think everybody that lived in Burbank was rich because that was where they filmed The Price is Right. So Burbank, California, I was like, ooh, everybody got money. No, it's broke niggas in Burbank.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just like, there's something about Riverside there's something about the California that's not LA that feels very much like the broader California that we think. The surfers, the weed, the very relaxed, the laid back, the don't harsh my vibe, the turtles from Finding Nemo. It's the turtles from Finding Nemo. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, like it's cool, man. Like, why are you in a hurry, bro? Like, what? Yeah. We can do it tomorrow. Like, nigga, no, we can't. We need to right now. Like, bro, just hit the bowl again, man. Like,
it feels like,
come on, man, you're harshing my vibe, bro.
It feels like we're supposed to be mortal enemies because you're from New York.
Yeah, but I don't.
East Coast.
I don't feel like so I have very strong feelings about that too. I don't think people can control where they were born, and that's such a weird thing to beef with somebody about, to me, if I can't control it. Like if you had your choice, you might have been born in Riverside anyway, or you might have been like, yo, from heaven, this shit don't look good at all. Put me down in Sweden, nigga. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know that I would have been. That's what, like, people like, babies choose who their parents are gonna be. I was like, nigga, you think I chose two 19-year-old fucking college freshmen immigrant niggas who don't fucking like each other? Like,
yeah,
I'd have picked Beyonce and Jay, nigga. Come on. Or Sammy Davis and Diana Ross. Something, man.
Yeah.
I would have been one of Berry Gordy kids. Like, you think who the fuck is picking? Also, who's picking black in America?
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
I'll go black. I'll go back to Ethiopia. I'll go black in Kenya. Want to do black in Ghana? Sure. Black here? This ain't fun, black.
I want to ask about that. I've spoken to a fair amount of comics. I'm sure you saw that photo album.
There's a lot of niggas in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a murder. Hey, look, if a whole bunch of comics come up missing, don't come over here looking like this is the murder book. This is for the podcast. This is for the podcast, man. I'm just gonna tell you that's gonna look very.
It looks suspicious.
In case like 8, 9 of them go missing, they gonna be. And he hides behind the veneer of the laid back Riverside, California. Whole time niggas like. He brings you over here and he put some spice in your weed, and you get home, you think everything good, but no, you're delusional. 2 a.m, you're gonna wake up and Uber all the way back over here and knock on the door, and that's when he kills you and cuts you up in the body parts and puts you in the oven, bakes you to a nasty ass souffle, nigga souffle. seasoned with riverside sand. It's a desert, you know. I'm sorry, man.
No, I just
that
want you to
happened.
be yourself. This is
No,
you.
but this is when we're talking about being silly. This is what my comedy really is.
Yeah.
But I understand that the amount of work it would take to get people to know who that person is, and the fact that I mostly do 10 to 12-minute sets when I'm here is not conducive to those two things happening. But most of my comedy is stream of conscious. Leah Sampson is the best at that version of it. If you get a chance to see her Don't Tell clip has done ridiculous. Now it's 600,000-700,000, but she's super duper funny. And somebody made a comment under the video. It was like, her comedy is like my intrusive thoughts being spoken out loud. And that's the funniest thing in the world to me, is if you could just give me a Chiron running at the bottom right now while we're talking of the shit that's going through my head. And the connection, because it's not, people are like, I just have random thoughts. None of them are random. I started talking about this, and then this happened, and this happened, and this happened in tech. But if you take too far of a step back, it's 17 different fucking conversations. Why are you doing it? I can't do that on stage yet. I haven't gotten confident enough yet in my ability to make sure that they know what I'm doing. And that's still that fear of being seen as silly. Like, you go on stage, you just start talking, they're like, what the fuck is this? All right, hold on, I'm smart now. I am smart. Okay, I could be. I really want to hump the stool. You know what I mean? And I say that because there's so much fucking disregard to humping the stool. This is a hot take. Here it is. Specifically amongst black comics, like there's this, I'm not gonna hump the stool. Like there's a superiority to your comedy because you don't fuck stools. And listen, I would rather niggas fuck the stool than fuck each other on these, because comics is fucking up comedy by fucking each other. Fuck the stool, niggas. Fuck the stool. But I say all of that.
I don't know what's happening anymore.
For this reason, exactly. You're welcome. I say that because I think we do this. Humping the stool is like, Def Jam, and like we disregarding how funny that shit is. Humping the stool is fucking funny. We're comics. It's a very funny comic. It's hacky. So is calling shit hacky, nigga. People do that. So, but the challenge has always been, how can I do a thing that's funny in the least hacky way? Hump the fucking stool. Find a way to hump the stool. Spin around on the bitch. Get a stool that spins. Be like, yeah, you ever fuck the bitch from the ceiling fan? Get on the bitch and spin around. I'm gonna die laughing. I'm not gonna be like, that's hacky. It's funny.
Yeah.
And I think that some of us forget we're so artistic that we've become so snobby. And I look, I'm a comedy snob too, but we become so snobby that we can't even laugh at funny things. We're too busy taking apart the mechanics because I don't give a fuck. I'm a fan. Walk on stage, fall down, I'm laughing. The stage clip from Laugh Factory where the dude is doing the Peg and Joker. That's fucking hilarious. It's staged. So are movies, dipshit. We laugh at movies. I laughed at Friday. I know Craig ain't knocked Debo out, nigga. That's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, Ice Cube is like 5'8".
Yeah.
He's not knocking Tiny List out. Stop it.
He also threw a brick, which was a little unfair, in my opinion.
I do think that's dirty fight.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's a little dirty.
Yeah. He
But
put the gun away, but
But yeah, I mean, I think that comedy is comedy, man, and I wish I was brave enough to do that on a stage in front of a few hundred people.
It sounds like you're working your way towards that.
I'm sure I am.
I look forward to
I
seeing
am.
the silliness.
There's an extreme there because there's also a whole one-man show that has very few, if any, laughs in it, and I'm trying my best to meld those two together in a way that makes sense. That's not like three mics where I'm separating each one. I want there's a special that Richard Pryor put out that Richard Pryor recorded but never put out. He recorded it in 1971 and it then got released in the mid 80s. I want to say it was the mid 80s, but it was
He was in San Francisco, I believe.
he was standing on a stage. He was standing in it was like a bar.
Yeah.
That's the one. It was Up in Smoke,
Yeah.
Live and Smoking, I think it's called. And in this special, he's telling standard jokes. He's doing characters. He's doing impressions. He's telling stories, but he doesn't. The segues aren't always easy to see that that's what he's doing. And I just remember watching him. He was putting his head there because he had just come back from Berkeley. I think was it's that time period. So he's either in Berkeley, or I think he filmed it in New York, but he had just come from Berkeley. I think is the.
Was this when he was in his era of trying not to be Cosby anymore?
He was after, it's post Cosby.
Okay.
And so this is the first time I've seen him, like he was talking about pimping Mae West. And I remember thinking, that's not particularly funny now, but I'm imagining in 1970 a black man saying that he pimped a white woman was a lot more edgy than we're seeing it as with today's eyes, right? It's like watching Lenny Bruce and people, why was he getting arrested? This nigga called somebody a da 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 da. It wasn't even, it was just a Yiddish word. Yeah, but at the time, in context, so in context, I'm watching this guy do a type of stand-up we haven't seen. And I don't really know about being the greats, but I do know about being whatever I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like, to me, what you did, that's brave as shit, because I came out here for a job. You came out here for you. You were looking for you. You had I'm not happy here. This isn't working for me. I don't like the way the air tastes. I want to go somewhere where niggas is niggas, and then you get here and you go, oh, niggas is definitely niggas. Okay. We need some more different niggas.
Yeah.
But you got it because of that step that you took. You found
My people, my tribe.
And listen, I didn't. My tribe is very similar to your tribe, but I'm 20 years older than y'all. So I'm not out with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody that you named in that group are people that if I was in my 30s, I would hang out with them almost all the time.
Yeah.
If I'm not a married old dude, that's who I want to fucking hang out with, because we're not getting super fucked up. We're having a good time. Everybody's having good conversation. Nobody's going to get touched, abused, assaulted. You know what I mean? The women are comfortable to come and go as they please. Like, there's
Chill.
community and unity in an environment that's conducive to you feeling safe. I didn't have that. I just lost a friend very recently for, it's like very public anti-trans positions.
You lost him, like he's gone, he dead, or
Dead to me. No, we just don't speak.
Okay.
You know, and he reached out to ask why, and I explained why. But I think my generation was very cool with maintaining relationships with people who had bigoted positions because there were so few of us remaining free. Like, you couldn't really cut people off. There's a fear of cutting people off and losing community, and we don't have a call-in culture. So I can't, I'm not going to argue with you for years and years about why being anti-queer is fucked up. I'm just going to not fuck with you, man. You could, you know what I mean? So, but again, that comes from watching this generation and this generation going, no, you just don't have to be friends with people who are shitty people. You don't have to. We accepted a lot of shittiness. We let Marvin Gaye be one of the greatest R&B singers ever and get a 14-year-old pregnant. Like, we did a lot of shit. You know what I mean? We let Bobby Womack marry his best friend's wife and show up to his fucking funeral in his clothes. Like, a lot of shit happened in our generation and we just were like, what? He ain't do that. And this kept going. So R. Kelly surviving as long as he did makes sense, because our generation was just like, oh, them bitches shouldn't have been doing such and such. And your generation was like, I think people gonna keep raping and fucking with kids if we don't stop it. We don't hold one person accountable. We should probably hold at least one motherfucker accountable for this.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate it had to be Aura.
Yeah. I have because I know you're a little long-winded, so I'm excited for this one. So this is usually my ending question. There's going to be pieces of it,
cool.
and I have a good 19 minutes for you to expound on it.
I answered in 2.
Okay. We'll see how this goes. So usually ask the comic to look in the camera, because you're talking to, for you specifically, I'm breaking it up into 3 parts. If you could say anything to your daughter 5 years from now, your son 5 years from now, and yourself 5 years from now, starting with your daughter, what would you say to her 5 years from now?
Michaela, I am extremely proud of the person that you've become. I could see it from the time that you were a little kid. You had the best heart I'd ever seen. You're the most honest person, the most affectionate person, and I'm proud that you took being a people pleaser and turned it into a good thing where you're always helpful. The things that you say to people are helpful. The things that you do for people are helpful. But I'm proud of you mostly for having boundaries and not giving so much of yourself that you have nothing left for you. So congratulations, baby girl. It's been an honor being your dad this long, and I can't wait to do it for another couple years. I'm getting old now. Let's cut this shit out, okay? Son, Bubba, go take a bath. You're 12. I'm pretty sure you're musty as shit. You don't like to do like you like girls, boys, whatever you like. They don't want stink. So go take a fucking shower, stinky boy, and clean your room. Also, I love you. You are the bravest kid I've ever seen in my life. You are the most honest, the sweetest, the most loving, the bravest, the kindest. It's very rare to see like a kind child. You're just a kind person, man. And not in that performative, I'm trying to make people think I'm a good person way. You're just a really good kid, man. I've enjoyed being your dad. And it's part of the joy that I get to be both yours and Michaela's dad together, because the two of you are the silliest thing that God ever put on this earth. And I love you. And to me, nigga, we made it. There were a bunch of times where I didn't see this happening. From 19 to 25, there were a bunch of times where I didn't see us living that thing out. I didn't see me getting out of prison. And then even after that, you know, some of the choices that we made were fucking ridiculous. I like to say they were the best options that we have, but some of it was just on some YOLO shit. So, you know, we did what we did, but we made it to here somehow. And if no one else has told you by now, I am proud of you for not quitting on yourself, for being humble enough to let people speak life into you. I think that there were a lot of times when we were younger where people were trying to be kind to us, but our ego and that wall that we had built up wouldn't allow it to happen. So I'm very proud of you for letting your guard down enough to be helped. And I'm proud of you for trying to give back in ways that made more sense. You know, I don't know if you ever gonna balance the scale. We fucked a lot of lives up. We sold a lot of cocaine. There's niggas that didn't make it back from that. I'm sure we had a couple overdoses on our record. And even through that, we never just gave up on ourselves and said, fuck it, I'm a horrible person. So I love you. I love the way that you love your family. I love the way that you love your wife. I love the way that you love your kids. But I'm most proud of you for loving yourself in a way that you didn't feel you deserved.
Okay, let's take this picture.
Dipset.